Climate change is the 21st century's most challenging social and environmental hazard. It is the biggest menace and the mother of many global challenges. There are tons of massive social problems caused due to the single most menace called climate change. As we know, climate change is a result of global warming caused due to increasing carbon emissions globally. It adversely impacts on social, cultural, environmental and natural resources. More importantly, climate change adversely affects human health and leads to the potential extinction of many species on this planet and will put our ecosystem to the test, like threatening supplies of fresh water, clean air, fuel, energy resources, food, medicine and many such things that we depend upon not only for our lifestyle needs but also for our basic life survival needs. This is Ganesh Mandadi. I am an author of book titled Your Life Graduation. I am an entrepreneur by profession, a farmer by passion and a philanthropist by heart. I am a nature lover and deep-rootedly gravitated towards farming, which is an inherited family legacy. And I am on a philanthropic mission to strive and spread the essence of indirect philanthropy, where the term indirect philanthropy is about doing one's own personal or professional activities in most responsible ways with an aim to prevent or minimize any potential harm to society, to nature and the environment in its first place, rather preventing it after its recurrence. In other words, every action of an individual or an organization should primarily consider the adverse impacts on human life, on environment and on natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am here to talk about the essence of indirect philanthropy to combat climate change. Like many other global challenges, climate change is also, to the most extent, it is a man-made hazard and it is massively scaling up and it could emerge in the most terrible forms in the years to come. And even it could pose an existential crisis to humanity and biodiversity. When compared to many other man-made hazards, social problems like poverty and literacy could appear very tiny and less destructive. It is the primary responsibility of every individual, every organization and every government to contribute in their own capacity in all fronts to combat this giant menace. We are talking about one of the biggest menaces of the century called climate change. It is a massive challenge not only for an individual or an organization, it is a quite challenging and so complex. Even if world's entire population's collective actions is put in place, it may take decades to resolve it. The simple reason is that there are endless root causes and there is no direct solution to fix this menace. The other major challenge to combat climate change is that the control over it is in many hands and it often appears uncontrollable. Even if 90% of human population pledges and contributes to combat climate change, it is good enough if the remaining 10% is not on board to sabotage whatever good has done, where whatever good has done by the 90% of population could go in vain. Therefore, it requires everyone's pledge, every individual's, every organization's and every country's commitment to combat collectively on all fronts, which is why the need of indirect philanthropy is so critical to combat this menace called climate change. There are tons of indirect philanthropic actions and it could run into hundreds by count. And I am here to talk about some of the basic and simple actions to imbibe in our daily lives. In other words, it is about instilling some meaningful and thoughtful actions in our personal and professional lives to combat climate change. Remember, indirect philanthropy is not only about fighting climate change alone. We are fighting all those social problems and challenges which are the products and byproducts of climate change, which includes threatened supplies of fresh water, clean air, fuel, energy resources, heat waves, increasing sea levels, pest invasions, droughts, weed, salt invasions, diseases and economic consequences. I believe that indirect philanthropy is the need of the hour to combat the biggest menaces of the century. It is a time to build awareness on the ways to eliminate the major root causes of climate change with an indirect philanthropic mindset and heart set, such as saving energy, saving plants and eliminating food wastage. It is a time to instill indirect philanthropic actions into our daily lives, which are quite simple but can make a profound impact in reducing carbon footprints and emissions, which eventually leads to eliminating of threatening supplies, preserving biodiversity and nature. The first step towards this noble cause of combating climate change is saving energy to save the planet Earth. And I believe that everyone can afford and can instill these simple things in our daily lives with a philanthropic heart set. Wherever possible, commute by carpooling or use public transportation, which contributes towards reducing the carbon emissions. Drive less and drive smart. Simple things like abiding to speed limits and avoiding rapid acceleration and excessive braking. Also, avoiding unwanted drives and trips not only reduces carbon emissions but also creates time and space for other important things in your lives besides saving your expenses. Wherever feasible, switch to electric or hybrid vehicles with low or no carbon emissions. Switch to energy efficient products. Prefer clean and renewable energy, which is fundamental to powering the world to move away from fossil fuels. For example, switching to LED lights can reduce up to 90% of energy consumption. Improve insulation to reduce the energy needed to heat or cool your home or office. It not only reduces emissions but also saves your money. Instill discipline in using switch off buttons to save electricity or energy consumption by turning off lights and all other electronics when you leave a room. Cleaning and servicing your air conditioner and heaters, air filters and other energy consuming products at regular intervals will save your power consumption. Switch to solar power wherever possible, which is more eco-friendly power source. Design your workspace and house space around natural light to reduce emissions. Use less water and set your water heater limit to save energy, and wrap it in an insulating blanket if it is an older model. These simple things are quite reachable and could significantly reduce energy consumption if you embrace indirect philanthropy in its true spirit. The second step towards this noble cause of combating climate change is saving plants to save Mother Earth. Try to reduce or avoid paper usage by switching to alternative e-resources and create awareness around you that lesser paper usage equates cutting lesser trees. You can grow your favorite foods in your garden or even on your terrace to reduce environmental impact and carbon footprint. Adopt farming as a hobby, and you can find ample ways to fulfill this hobby if you determine to live your hobby. Preferred recycled household things which consume significantly less energy compared to new products. Plant trees. This can bring a great joy and it leaves your legacy for future generations. A single tree will absorb approximately 1 ton of carbon dioxide during its lifetime. Use reusable plates, glasses and forks instead of plastic-made use and throw products for your daily use or for parties. This reduces stress on the environment and carbon emissions. I believe that we can afford all these simple actions in our daily lives and we can make it a reality of saving plants to save this planet Earth. The third step towards this noble cause of combating climate change is eliminating food wastage to save natural resources and starving people. There are people around the world who struggle for 2 meals a day and some even die every day with starvation. And on the other hand, we have people who often waste food for many reasons. The statistics show that globally, a whopping roughly 1/3 of the food produced for human consumption every year is lost or wasted, and this is approximately 1.3 billion metric tons. Ironically, the wasted food quantity is many folds higher than the food required to eradicate world hunger and prevent starving human deaths. The most common reasons for food wastage are controllable. The root causes are buying more food than we need at market, letting fruits and vegetables spoil at home, or taking larger portions than we can eat. These habits put extra strain on natural resources and damage our environment. When we waste food, we waste the labor, effort, investment and precious resources like water, seeds and feed that go into producing it. In short, wasting food increases greenhouse emissions and contributes to climate change. More importantly, we are indirectly denying food for underprivileged people. It is not about your ability to afford the wastage of food. Other than above reasons, it also leads to increased prices and shortage of food supplies, which is a core issue behind world hunger. Now, it is your turn to become an indirect philanthropist by preserving planet Earth and by contributing towards global hunger, a noble cause to eliminate food wastage by instilling these small actions in your daily lives. Buy only what you need by planning your meals and avoiding impulse buying. It will not only prevent wastage of food but you will also save money and environment. Pick ugly fruits and vegetables. They are often thrown away due to cosmetic standards. Remember, appearance doesn't reduce its nutrients and taste. Store your food wisely to avoid spoilage and wastage. Know food labeling difference between the best before and use by dates. Sometimes food is still safe to eat at the best before date, specifically nuts and grains. Whereas it's a use by date that tells us that it is no longer safe to eat. It is wise to consume before the end dates. Make a habit to make a smaller portion at home or share larger dishes at restaurants. Love leftover food. If you don't eat everything you make, freeze it for later or use the leftovers as an ingredients in another meal. Eat plant-based food by shifting to a vegetarian diet, which can cut your carbon footprint in half. Moreover, it enhances your health. Put your food waste to use instead of throwing away your food scraps. Compost them. It is giving nutrients back to the soil and reducing your carbon footprints. Value food. It connects all of us. It makes all the difference by knowing the process from farm to your fork. Read about food production and get to know your farmers. Support local food producers by buying local produce. You support family farmers and small businesses in your community. You also help fight pollution by reducing delivery distance for trucks and other vehicles. Donate excess or leftover food in parties that would otherwise waste it. Find out your nearest food pantries, food banks, and food rescue programs that collect and redistribute it to those in need. It is easy to preach philanthropy but difficult to practice in real life unless one embraces the philanthropic mindset and heart set. Multiple studies and researchers have found that the highest level of emotional life fulfillment and contentment is derived from one's own philanthropic actions, and the sense of life fulfillment derived from those actions is priceless. So what's holding you back from living your philanthropic life and attaining the highest sense of life fulfillment? It is just a step away from you. By embracing indirect philanthropy, it is not only about combating climate change, it has a potential to eliminate or minimize multitude global challenges and social problems as we spoke about. The world needs more philanthropists than ever before in one's own self. Imagine the magnitude of impact on human lives if close to 8 billion of world's human population could make a very tiny contributions towards climate change. It may sound overwhelming. However, we are talking about only a tiny step, a tiny contributions towards combating climate change. It is possible if we shift our focus towards building self-awareness among people about the essence of living indirect philanthropic life in its true spirit for creating a better world. To summarize, it is all about instilling indirect philanthropic actions in all walks of our daily lives. Just by simply doing our own things without causing any harm to nature, to society, and to other species, we can create a wonderful world and a sustainable planet not only for the current generations, but to leave a healthy planet to future generations. Thank you.